Hey everyone, welcome back to Hollow Point Defense. We're going to show you today how to remove the trigger on the Smith & Wesson FPC. I've got it torn down to the receiver, as you can see, and we're just going to take the trigger out and put it back in. We're going to make it simple. The M-Carbo trigger here that I have has no directions with it, so that's why I'm going to show you here. It's fairly simple. Normally I tell you to keep the safety engaged, that way the hammer doesn't go forward, but when we remove this trigger pin, that safety is going to come out. There's several parts right in here under this plate, this feed ramp plate, so you have to be careful with what you're doing. The first thing I want to do is there's a trigger pin right there. We're going to knock that out. I got a 16th inch punch. My little rubber hammer, just going to tap that over. It does take a little bit of work. It doesn't just pop right out, at least on this one. And then I'm going to put my thumb up here on this plate. When I remove my punch, all this is going to come up, and there's little parts in there. We'll show you. So here's the first part of it. There's a little plate, and then here's a spring and the little plunger, I'll call it, little metal one. Keep those together so I know where they go, and you should too. Now the safety, there's a spring here on top of your safety. I keep my little green pad here so things don't roll all over the place. And then your safety kind of moves fairly easy. You have this small little plunger piece. I don't know what they call it. I haven't seen an exploded view for this gun yet. And then I can simply take my bolt release right out. And I am going to clean some of this up before we put everything back together. I didn't think I had to, but we're going to knock out the hammer back here. We'll pull that straight up. Makes it a lot easier. And there's this piece right here. Put it up here so you guys can see it. This little piece. There is a spring back here. Be careful with that. If you lose it, you're screwed. So I'm just going to put that to the side so it all stays 100% together. And then I can simply lift the trigger right out. And of course, my safety will come out too. So there you go. So here we go. Here is the trigger. If it's in the gun, this part goes towards the muzzle. This goes to the buttstock. In order to take this apart, there is one pin that you can see right there. We're going to knock that out from the left to the right. And I'm just going to use my armorer's block here where it sits nice and flat so I don't bend anything. I'm going to use my 1/16 punch. Put it right on there, kind of hold it. It should come out fairly easy. And there we go. Move this, because we are going to need to obviously put this little tiny 1/4 inch by 1/16 pin back in. And I got that holding everything together, because as I pull this out, my punch, this trigger bar is going to come out. And there it is. And if I continue all the way up front, the front trigger bar comes out. I'm going to leave that spring on there. Again, don't lose anything. And here's the plain FPC trigger. It is a lot different than the M&P 2.0 triggers, because I've had people ask if they could switch them. No, you cannot. So we'll just throw that to the side. Here's our trigger. I'm going to show you how to reinstall this trigger. Fairly easy. Remember that front piece? There's a slot here. It's going to go right in there, and you can line up the holes. But before we do that, from left to right, I'm going to put back in the pin, because obviously we need the pin to do that. So we'll just line that hole up right there. And it went in fairly easy. Didn't even need much pressure. That's fine. And then I will get the front piece, As you see it right here, the J hook going up, put it right inside there, push that pin through, and it's on there. We put the front piece in, as you see right here. Now this trigger bar, the rear trigger bar, if you lay these down, it's gonna be like that. So this is gonna have a straight out and a bend to your right. So it's gonna go in kind of like that. This is gonna be towards the outside of the receiver. So while I'm doing it and explaining it, I'm gonna line up those holes. I'm using my finger to push that just so it catches it. It is kind of hard. Then I'll put it right back in my block, get my punch. And I have everything ready to go back together. It moves, this thing moves, so everything is good. Looking at the pin, everything looks perfect. So there you go. That's how simple it is to take this trigger apart and put it back together. So what we want to do next is put it all back in here. We're not modifying anything, so we're just going to show you how to reassemble this should you have to clean it. To go over that again, if you want to, you'll remove this pin right here. The rear of the trigger bar and the front trigger bar will come out, but you have to remove the entire pin from this trigger to put the trigger back in. All right, let's put this puppy back together. You'll need your receiver, your trigger, and your safety. Trigger and the safety is gonna go in. I'm gonna put the safety in first because this bar is gonna ride right there. This little flat part is gonna ride in the center of the safety. And in order for me to put this in, I have to have this in first. So we will just go from the left to the right with the little red ring on my left side. I'm gonna put the trigger right underneath it. But one thing I should tell you is this spring right here, you're gonna have to push it forward. This spring right here, it's gonna get pushed forward about a 1/16, 1/8 of an inch. And let me take this safety out and I'll show you why. There's a little cup inside there. A little cutout right there. That spring's gotta go inside that cutout. So, let's put this puppy in. It only goes in virtually one way. Put that J hook under that. I'm gonna put this trigger down. It's gonna be hard for you guys to see, but I need a flathead screwdriver to grab the front part of this spring to compress it. I'm lifting up on the trigger to get that right under there. You can see in there, if I can get some good light, where that trigger goes. So right there, you can see where the spring goes inside. There you go. You can see where the spring goes inside it. And I have everything set for right there. And then what I'm gonna do is take this little plunger. It's kind of a weird shape. Big square end goes on the left side of the gun. And just drop it in there, because that's what's gonna engage or click on your safety. And don't forget about your safety spring there, because that's what puts pressure on it for me to go back and forth, just like that. So there we go. I don't want to disturb too much there. So what I'm going to do next is get my hammer block. Remember, this is a piece that can easily come off, and there's a spring right there. Let me get my light again. You can see that spring right inside there. So please pay attention to all these parts, that way you know they're together. And this little knob right there is gonna catch on. Let me put this down. It's gonna go right in between that trigger bar there where it's got that fork. So keep all this stuff together. Push down on that. There we go. And I got my trigger bar back, or hammer block back in there. Let me find my hammer block pin And I'm going to do it from right to left on this one. And my spring's right there, so you got to pay attention to all that good stuff. So let me do this. While you guys are sitting there watching, I'm going to drive that back in there. There we go. Oops, went a little too far. I'll get that here, and there we go. Engage the safety, and it doesn't move, so we want to be careful with that. Let's put my safety spring back in there. Again, don't lose that stuff. You cannot get parts for these. The next thing I want to do is my bolt catch. Just slide it in there, just like that. Really easy. It is a bolt catch, not a release. So don't call it that. Yes, I've made that mistake in the past, calling it a bolt catch. But it is a bolt release. It's not designed for anything other than a bolt catch. So don't worry about that. So what I need to do now is, here's my feed ramp, and I'll call it the feed ramp block, whatever you want to call it. And this ground metal and that spring is going to go inside that hole. This is where it does take a little bit of patience. And I'm going to put this on top of that safety spring, press down. Of course, it's not going to go in because of that metal cylinder. That's why I have my flathead screwdriver, and this can be a little, you need patience for it. Let me say it that way. I am just going to get onto it, push it to where everything settles. And it is a little bit on the difficult side. There we go. Just have to have a little patience with it because it is difficult. And I'll make sure everything lines up here. We're pretty close, but I always have my punch here to help me with that. Kind of press that in. I just want to make sure everything lines up before I start hammering on it. There we go. It is done right there. So, there, I know the safety was not engaged. We're going to reset the hammer because that is important. We're going to check this. Now I know it works both ways. So, we are back together. And again, I cannot stress it enough. Let me disengage this. I'm going to use the trigger. If that hammer is forward and you rebuild this, you're going to have issues because this won't reset with the bolt. It's not like an AR-15 or nothing. So make sure that is in that position. Set the safety. I'm doing a function check. It works. Take the safety off again just to show you again. And it works. And there we go. You have replaced everything and taken it out. I've also cleaned it and we're good. So there you go. Any questions, please leave a comment below or ask me and I'll try to help you out as much as I can. Y'all take care and have a good day. And here I am. You guys have a good one.